Namaskar. I'm Harpreet Kaur and I welcome you all to a live and interactive session. This is our online training program under the umbrella theme of Cyber Hygiene. This session is organized by CIT NCERT in collaboration with ISEAC under Ministry of Electronics and Information Technology. In fact, this entire program, training program is organized in collaboration with CDAC. It's a 5-day, 5-hour training program where each day 1 hour between 4 and 5 p.m. is dedicated to this online training session. And today we are in day 3 of the training session. Yesterday on day 2 we talked about cyber hygiene essentials, protect your data, protect yourself. And today on day 3 we will be talking about malware to phishing, cyber hygiene practices to stay protected. Now, you're watching this session on our PME Vidya channels 6 to 12 and also on our YouTube channel NCERT Official. Since the session is live and interactive, you can always give us a call or you can email us or you can send us a message also. Take down our phone number, which is 8800440559, and the email ID for sending your emails with your questions, suggestions and feedback is training.helpdesk@ciet.nic.in. We are also streaming live on our YouTube channel NCERT Official. So go to the comment section and instead of marking your attendance, I request you to kindly send us some relevant questions that are related to the topic, and that will help you in the assessment as well. Now, since it's a training program and when there's a training program, there is an assessment also. I shared the details with you on the first day of the session, and you can go to the CIET website and go to the current activity. There you will find the training, this ongoing training title, and there you will find a complete write-up on why we are having this training, what are the objectives and who all can participate and how to participate in the assessment. So please go through those guidelines and make sure that you score more than 70%, because only then you will be granted a certificate. And now who is there with us on the day 3 of the training session? Once again, let me repeat myself. It's training program on cyber hygiene, and on day 3 we are specifically focusing on malware to phishing, cyber hygiene practices to stay protected. And we are joined by our expert, Dr. Sanjeev Kumar, Scientist E from CDAC, Mohali, Punjab. Sir, namaskar and welcome to the session.
Namaskar, madam.
So, sir, we all have been, learning a lot about these things like cyber hygiene, how you can protect your passwords and how you can stay safe, and when not to use public Wi-Fi networks and what all precautions you should be taking. So today, since we'll be focusing on malware to phishing, so before you go into the details, I request you to kindly share with us a brief overview of what are the main points that you'll be covering in the session, and then when we can take up Q&A in the end.
So thank you so much, madam. My complete session will be covering about the different types of the malware threats, including virus, worms, and trojans, botnets. And nowadays, people are more targeted, end users are more targeted by the malware threats due to financial gains. And this kind of, I will be covering how to protect from such kind of malware threats and how to safeguard us so that we should be on a safer internet ecosystem.
Absolutely, sir. So we are looking forward to the detailed presentation, and I request you now to kindly go ahead with the same.
Thank you so much, madam. I will be very delightful for this, for covering this entire session, and my topic will be intelligent malware detection and classification. As madam mentioned that everybody is nowadays connected to the internet, and using the different services of the internet, and in the form of the education, banking, and even our day-to-day routine are completely dependent on the internet, and we are also putting our data to the internet. And nowadays the cyber criminals are used to access or used to utilize such kind of information for the cyber frauds. And malware is one kind of cyber threat that is becoming and that is evolving on day-to-day basis to damage the internet security. With this, I introduce the topic of this session is intelligent malware detection and classification, and how do we handle the evolving malware threats so that everybody should be on the safer side. And whoever is using the internet services, they should be able to understand how how I should be able to protect myself from such kind of evolving malware threats.
Yes. So we are also having a PPT regarding that.
Yeah, and then during this session, I will be covering what is our actually basic fundamental security workflow. And after this, I will be covering like nowadays, end users are the weakest point in this complete ecosystem because they are not much aware about the cyber hygiene practices and how to use the internet in a safest way. They are not much knowing the fundamentals about such kind of things. So I will be covering how phishing kind of emails, spear phishing kind of attacks are, going to leverage the malware threats. And now then I will be covering the different types of the malware attacks and how do we analyze the such kind of malware attacks in a controlled environment so that any network or organizations, those are using the internet services, they should be able to analyze the malwares and from where that malware threats are basically happening or such kind of campaign is running behind the zone. Those kind of activities or those kind of techniques can be covered with the help of the malware analysis.
Okay.
And then finally, I'll be covering some broad scenarios of the traditional signature-based malware detection and what is the way forward and how where we are moving forward in terms of the evolving detection of the evolving malware attacks. So in this way, if you talk about the basic fundamental security workflow, so basically there are three different zones. One is the first zone is actually the endpoint zone. In this endpoint zone, all the end users, including the endpoint devices, desktops, computers, all those devices are in this zone basically. That is called a endpoint zone. After that, those are widely using the internet services. However, this area who are using these internet services are not much aware about the security point of view. Then all the data, all the logs are being collected from these endpoint devices or endpoint zone to the second zone that is called our brain of this ecosystem. In this ecosystem, the security analyst or security researchers, they used to analyze the collected logs and data. And based on those logs and data, they used to create the signatures or patterns or artifacts which are relevant to the cyber criminals. They identify the anomalies in the logs and identify that those anomalies are part of the malware campaign. This is called a brain of this complete ecosystem. If this our brain is weak, then our security workflow will also be weak. So this second block is very very highly important to protect from the malware threats. And after this, there is a nowadays SOC and SIM operation team is within every organization. Every organization do have a SOC and SIM operation. They used to utilize such kind of the outcome generated from the second zone as a SIM and SOC operation of the entire network. So these three blocks basically defines our complete security architecture or complete security workflow.
Right.
And on this complete the architecture is basically the first block where is the end users who are using the internet services, who are using the most of the internet services. They are not aware about the fundamental security postures or how to protect from the evolving cyber attacks, or we can say they are not much aware about the basic cyber hygiene practices. So to aware such kind of people, only then we will be able to strong enough, we will be able to in a robust architecture so that everybody should be in a controlled environment. So if we talk about how spear phishing kind of attacks are leading to the malwares, in this case, one first step is actually attack. Nowadays, attackers as well as the defenders both are working in a different ecosystem. And cyber criminals are also becoming very smart, and they are also use the evolving technology such as artificial intelligence or robotics or a kind of language modeling to generate the new kind of attacks. In this case, they used to actually hire the different kind of propagation vectors or propagation methods to infect the end user systems. And spear phishing attack is one of them. They used to create the emails or spear phishing emails, which looks like the genuine emails.
Okay.
Maybe somebody may get a mail from the HR department or finance department. Your increment is pending. Your promotion is due. Then the users actually are such kind of mails are so lucrative that users are not aware that this email is actually genuine or the malicious. In that case, user used to open that kind of email and that do have a attachment within the email. The moment user open that attachment, then in that way the user got infected by the suspicious activity. Basically, those attachment contains a kind of malicious code in the attachment itself. The moment the user opened those kind of emails, they got infected by the malware attacks. So this third step is basically the end user when they open user accessing the phishing email, the victim users download remote access Trojan that is called a RAT and install it in their machines. Then a RAT are then used to gain the information from the systems into the organizational network. And further, those kind of infected systems can be used by the criminals to propagate the attacks further in the networks. In this way, they used to get the complete foothold of the entire network, not only the end users. So now even nowadays to create a spear phishing kind of email is not a big deal. Even end user, even layman attackers can create the spear phishing kind of attacks. However, until unless our security posture is not strong enough, then we will not be able to protect from such kind of damage. So in this way, in this complete life cycle, we can see where is the weakest point. The weakest point here is the end user actually. So they are not aware about whether to open the spear phishing email, whether to open the attachment or not. They should be aware about we should not open any such kind of emails which are not known to us actually. So in that way, these end users are not knowing about the cyber attacks, and this way the cyber criminals used to infect the entire network or entire organizations. So what basically, if you talk about what is a malware, just in terms of standard definitions, malware is nothing is kind of a malicious software that is refers to any intrusive software developed by the cyber criminals to steal the data, damage or destroy computers and computer systems. And malware, malicious software is a short name of the malware. Short name of the malicious software is a malware. Is not a new thing. It's happening since last more than you can say that more than 30 years or so. So since the age of the internet, the malware attacks are also evolving. So in that case, like the traditional way of the malware attacks, like viruses, bombs, Trojan, spyware, adware. But nowadays the cyber criminals used to take the more advantage of the technology to create the more sophisticated attacks such as advanced persistent threats, ransomware. Earlier we used to hear that if somebody physically kidnaps somebody and ask some ransom, so those kind of physical ransomware. But nowadays there is a digital ransomware. In that way, until unless you do not pay some amount of money to the cyber attackers, they will not release your data or your key or any kind of confidential information. And we do not believe that since last 1 and 2 years, more than 66% of the attacks are ransomware kind of attacks. So these are becoming very dangerous to any kind of. They can we can lose any organization may lose our reputation, financials, even end users can lose their money in a single go. So malware can take many forms. Individuals and organizations need to be aware of the different type of the malware and take steps to protect their systems, such as how to use the up-to-date antivirus software, keeping software and systems up to date, and being cautious when opening email attachments or downloading software from the internet. Everybody has to hear about the virus worms, and these are the traditional way of the malware attacks. But if you talk about the the advanced malware attacks, they are most of the antivirus users or traditional technologies are not able to detect such kind of attacks. So those are called the zero-day attacks or zero-day malware attacks. Even if you fundamentally if we see that traditional antivirus based malware detection, basically they do have a in the backend they do have a signatures into their database. Based on those signatures only they will be able to detect the non malware attacks. Then if we fundamentally if we say what about the known attacks, if you don't have the signatures into the signature database, then those kind of attacks may not be detected by the antivirus scanners. If you talk about the some key trends of the malware attacks since last 1.5 years, we can say largely people are using the Microsoft Windows. So that's why Microsoft Windows based malwares are, increasing day by day basis. And also second is the mobile malware, because people users are using the Android kind of malware, mobile phones and iPhones. So those Android malwares are also keep on evolving and increasing. And nowadays, even like industry 4.0, there is a large number of IoT devices or different heterogeneous IoT devices who have a different platforms and architectures. In that way, they do have a you can say Microsoft Windows or Linux or other type of heterogeneous platform and architecture. So those kind of malware threat is also keep on increasing. Even nowadays, if I say malware disruption as a service or malware as a service is also being hired by the malware creators. So if you talk about the different classes of the malware, so basically what I mean to class here is based on the certain characteristics of the historical way of the attacking the system of the particular attack. They are used to characterize the malware into different classes. Everybody has heard about maybe the viruses, bombs, Trojan. All these are the traditional way of the traditional malware attacks. But nowadays there is a different sophisticated malware attacks like ransomware is there, keylogger is there. Like malware, the cyber criminals used to install kind of keyloggers into the end user system, and they used to keep monitoring the assets of the organizations. If there is any sensitive information, they used to steal those kind of sensitive informations. Crypto miners, cryptocurrency malware is also increasing. And if you talk about some sort of botnets, botnet is one of the very dangerous malware in cyber ecosystem. They do have a botnet army. One bot master used to create a different command and control servers, and one command and control servers can infect and control a millions of computers, millions of devices in a single go. In this way, they used to create a kind of army, a kind of a botnet that is called a botnet army in cyber ecosystem. And those kind of attacks are very, very difficult to detect and track. So these are the different classes of the malware based on their way of propagation, their way of characteristics, and their way of infecting the end user systems. So if we talk about how do we handle them? What is the different way of analyzing a malware? Traditionally, fundamentally, we see everybody is knowing about virus, worms, and this thing. But how do we say this is a virus or this is a worm or this is a botnet attack? For that purpose, traditionally, there are different ways of analyzing a malware. If I talk about the malware analysis is basically a process of identifying or studying you can say behavior of the software program. Malware is nothing, is a kind of a malicious software, is a software program. So malware analysis is a technique or a process to study you can say characteristics of the malware program and how they are using such kind of characteristics to infect the end user systems. As I written here in the first definition, malware analysis is a process of studying harmful software or malware to understand its characteristics, origins, and potential effects. The goal of the malware analysis is to help security team make informed decisions about how to detect and respond to malware. Basically, malware analysis is the study or is a subject of the unique feature, objectives, sources, and potential effects of the harmful software. By analyzing the malware, we used to get from where it got originated, who are the target of this particular malicious software. Are they targeting the end users, or are they targeting the complete network, or are they targeting certain services? And even though we are also able to identify the from where that malware actually originated, to know the actual source of the malware attacks. So in this way, this malware analysis is helping us. So if we talk about what are the different traditional malware analysis techniques, so they are broadly defined into categorized into 4 different categories. One is the signature based, second is the static analysis, third is the dynamic analysis, and fourth one is the memory analysis. If I talk about the signature based analysis, so in this way, basically, as I mentioned, that most of the antivirus what we are using to protect our Microsoft Windows operating system, like Microsoft Defenders or any sort of antivirus scanners, they do have a signatures in there in the backend. That is called a signature database. Though based on those signatures only, they are able to detect the malware attacks. Like if I say this is a virus or worms, based on those signatures only they are able to flag, okay, this is a virus or this is a worm or this is other kind of malware. But the main drawback of this technique is that they are not able to detect known cyber attacks, known malware. Logically it is there because they do have a fixed number of signatures. And nowadays more than 90, I should say statistically large number of attacks or malware attacks are basically unknown kind of attacks. So in this way, this signature based techniques is actually not helping us. These kind of techniques are failing in that way. So then there is another technique that is called the static analysis. Okay, if I say with the help of these signatures, I know I'm not able to handle the unknown attacks, but static analysis, I can analyze the complete source code of a program and can get the static patterns or IOCs from the software program itself. So to say that okay, this software program do have a the IP address or remote DNS domain name system from where it got originated. So that is called a static analysis. It's kind of a reverse engineering of the malware program in a with the help of the static tools, the static debuggers or reverse engineering tools and techniques. However, to do a static analysis, one requires a lots of domain expert analysis. So because the layman users may not be able to perform the static code analysis. However, big vendors or industries like antivirus industries, they typically they used to perform the static code analysis. But however, the advantage of the static code analysis that they are successfully able to handle some limitations of the signature based approaches. But one of the disadvantage of the static code analysis is that code obfuscation techniques.
Okay.
Attacker used to obfuscate the code of the program so that so that static analysis methods can be evaded. So in that way, static analysis approach is vulnerable to the code obfuscation or code manipulation techniques. The third approach is basically to solve some issues of the static code analysis is the dynamic analysis. Dynamic analysis basically to run the software program in a controlled environment and to get the execution traces of the the malwares. In that way, those are also called a sandbox analysis. In sandbox analysis, nothing is a kind of virtual machine stack. In that virtual machine stack, the software program loaded and they used to execute the malware software program in actual environment. So that if I say based on the actual runtime and execution of the malware, I used to extract the behavior traces of the malware. I used to model the behavior of the malware, and I can say okay, this is the behavioral properties or behavioral attributes of the malware. This can be labeled in a such kind of malware attacks. But with if I say dynamic analysis, not somehow is able to solve some limitations of the static code analysis, such as code obfuscation or some packing and encryption, they can be able to handle. But again, dynamic analysis is a very highly resource intensive. There is as I mentioned that in terms of adding more IoTs and the large number of sensors are adding in the network ecosystem, including IoTs and this thing. They do have a different platform and architectures. It's quite impossible to, create a sandbox kind of architecture for all platforms and architectures. So this is a kind of NP complete problem. So this requires a lots of cost and resources. Also, this requires this is highly domain expertise requirement is there. In that way, I can say all of these techniques are not helping us in a traditional way, but as a hybrid approach, if we use the multiple approaches in a network, then in that way we can say we can protect the network from malware attacks. So if I say what are the benefits of the malware analysis is a very skilled area in cyber security. However, being an end user or layman user, everybody should be able to, should be knowing about the fundamentals of, protecting the end users or protecting our assets from the malwares. So if I say I'm using the Microsoft Windows operating system,
okay,
that basically basic hygiene practice is that I should install the up-to-date antivirus scanners on my system, so that I should be I should not be targeted by the malware threats. And also I should install the latest firewall, or I should enable the firewall on my the laptop or computer, so that there should not be any harmful effect from the malware authors. If I say what are the different benefits of the malware analysis, malware analysis basically figure out how much damage an intrusion caused. If I say there is a malware in the network, by analyzing the malware, I will be able to figure out how much damage it can, occur in my network or in my organization. Second, if I say identify who may have installed malware inside the system, I will be able to know the actual from where it got originated in my network. So with the help of the malware analysis techniques, I will be able to determine actually who installed that malware inside the system. And also it will able to determine what is the type of the level of the sophistication. If I say this is a traditional virus, then antivirus industry or antivirus scanners, they may help us in to protect such kind of damage. But if there is a high level of sophisticated attacks, then in that case antivirus, the traditional signature based methods may not help us. So basically it will also lead us to determine the level of sophistication. We pinpoint the exact vulnerability the malware exploited to access your system. So traditional, if I talk about the traditional way of the detection of the malware attacks, one is the signature-based approach. As I mentioned initially, that most of the antivirus what we are installing on our end user systems, including laptops, desktops, we do have antivirus scanners. Basically, how they are working. If somebody thought about how antivirus scanners is working, so basically they do have in the backend, as I mentioned, in the backend they do have a signature database. Based on that signature database only, they will be able to detect the kind of, or can say type of the malware attacks. So this is the workflow of how the traditional signature based malware detection approaches are working. In this workflow, if we go to the step 1, let's say your system got infected by some malware attack, then in that case some pop-up window will open in our system. It will say there is a new file or new virus detected on your system. Do you want to clean it, or they need some kind of action from the end user. If end user say okay, yes or no, if end user say yes, in that case the data in the real time, that data go to the and this antivirus industry. That basically that data is being submitted to the antivirus scanner. In that way they used to analyze these kind of files in the real time and analyzed by the antivirus vendors, and after that they create the signatures. Step 5 is the signature generated. and that signature is automatically uploaded into a signature database and also pushed to the end user systems. So in this way, they used to collect the data from the end user system and create the signatures and give the signature to the end user system. So what I mean to say here is that basically these scanners or these, they are also taking the data from the end users. I am not saying that they are stealing the data, but they are taking the data from the end user system and creating the signatures. Indeed, but the drawback of this approach is that, as I mentioned, that they are able to detect only known attacks, because signature is meant to be created for known kind of attacks. If there is any unknown kind of attack, they will not be able to protect us. So this particular slides actually depicts the what is the malware. Malware, as I mentioned, is a piece of code. It's a piece of software program. So but for the machine, high level machine does not understand the high level programming, like in terms of C language or Python language. For the machine, it is a kind of assembly instructions in the form of the assembly instructions in the form of the binary format 0110. Machine only able to understand the binary format or assembly instructions. But for the layman user, or they are not able to understand this assembly instructions or piece of code. So for that purpose, that's why we require the skilled malware analyst or skilled malware researchers who used to analyze the malwares in a controlled environment or using static reverse engineering tools or techniques. So the purpose of this slide is here that malware is again a piece of code. It's not nothing like it's not a rocket science. It's a kind of piece of code. Anybody can analyze that code in a controlled environment, and then any researchers or security analyst or end users, they can extract the IOCs from the malware itself. So nowadays, this particular slide actually nowadays, even these antivirus industries or researchers are more focusing on some alternate techniques instead of completely relying on traditional signature based approaches. So for that purpose, because they are quite, the attackers can evade those kind of techniques by using a code obfuscation or code manipulation, or different techniques are there, because and to evade a signatures is not a big deal nowadays. I mean, anybody, it's very trivial to bypass any antivirus scanners that is installed into the end user system. That's why this antivirus, the signature based approach is basically not helping us. I mean, this is kind of obsolete techniques. And nowadays, researchers or industries are exploring more and more techniques, and one of them is actually applying the computer vision based approaches, or machine learning or pattern recognition based approaches in the malware detection task. As I mentioned, that for the machine, that this is all source code of a malware program is like nothing like a binary program. And when these machine learning and pattern recognition are applied to the binary program, they can automatically extract the patterns or signatures or characteristics from this malware, this binary program, to say this is a malware class or this is a normal file. So in this way, people, researchers or industries are exploring such kind of methods also. And one of the method is the image based computer vision based malware detection. In this case, what happens actually, this binary program is completely converted into the image formats without losing any data. Without, I mean, the whole program, a complete program is being converted into the image formats, and then those images can be analyzed by with the help of the artificial intelligence algorithm. Because computer vision is not a new subject, there is a lot of maturity in that domain. But applying those kind of technology or those kind of algorithms in malware detection is a new area. In that case, even Microsoft, Google, or big ventures are also exploring by applying such kind of techniques in malware detection task, because instead of relying completely on the static or signature based approaches, which are quite intensive approach. So in that way, this is one approach. People still research is going on. So this is the workflow, or this is, I can say, pseudocode of conversion of the binary program into the image. And this binary, once the moment these binary programs are converted into the different images, then there is plenty of computer vision algorithms are there who can easily extract the features or characteristics from the image itself to declare that, oh, these are the features which are anomalous, or these are the textual patterns which are the normal. So this is one way of handling the evolving malware attacks. And if I say visualize images of a few real world malwares, we can even by our naked eye, we can easily differentiate the malware families which belongs to different malware classes. If I say Emotet, Nitol, Juicy, Ciscos, these are the different malware families. And by looking at their textual patterns, we can easily determine, okay, this Emotet malware family does not have a characteristics belongs to the Nitol malware family. So those textual characteristics or those textual patterns can be extracted from the computer vision based approaches. And if we say the characteristics or their similarity within the same malware family, so we can easily see that, let's say, this Emotet, they do have a similar kind of characteristics, similar kind of patterns, which differentiate that which makes them basically a Emotet malware family, not the AC malware family. And the different malware family do have a different characteristics or different patterns. So even the main purpose of this kind of approach is that, because as I mentioned that the traditional approaches are vulnerable to the code obfuscation, packing, encryption. But in this case, the computer vision based approaches, they are able to handle such kind of evasion methods deployed by the malware creators. One of them is the polymorphic obfuscation or packing. They can easily handle such kind of evasion methods because textual pattern still remains the same. Even one of the advantages of using such kind of approach is that they do not require a highly intensive, you can say, reverse engineering of the sample. We can say they are platform independent. They are able to handle the malware belong to different platforms and architecture like Microsoft Windows operating system, Linux or Android or IoTs. Because every platform, it's quite tedious to analyze the malware which belongs to different platforms and architectures. There are plenty of, you can say, several number of architectures, different number of platforms are there. For the malware authors or researchers, it's quite difficult to analyze each and every sample or belongs to different platforms and architectures. And on day-to-day routine, there is a millions of the computers are infected by the malware program, new malware programs. So with this, I conclude my presentation.
Thank you.
Open to the question and answers.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir, for this presentation. Of course, I clearly understood now that what exactly malware is and how it is impacting our system, and we need to protect our data from that and different types as well. Now, we have some questions, very common questions, although you have covered these points in the presentation, but again, these are, we can say, like, let's just sum up the entire conversation or the entire presentation that you have just given to us in the form of these Q&As. So, sir, very quickly, so I have some basic questions. What is a malware? Somebody has asked.
Basically, as I mentioned in my presentation also, malware is the short form of the, malicious software. So that software which have a characteristics to harm your computer, to your assets of the organization, that is called a malware.
Essentially a code.
Yes, it can be a small code, it can be a large code, which do have a capability to harm your asset or your data. That is called a malware actually.
And so, what are different ways to detect malware, and how can we actually safeguard our data from these malware attacks?
Basically, for the end user point of view, if you talk about, if let's say we are using the Microsoft operating system or Linux operating system, first measurement is that we have to use up-to-date antivirus engines to safeguard us from the malware attacks. And we have to use the latest version of the operating system, latest version of the software, either it is a antivirus or firewall. So we should use the up-to-date operating system as well as the applications.
And so how can we analyze these different malware techniques, and how it helps in malware detection once they are analyzed and identified?
That is a very nice question in terms of the malware analysis. If I say malware analysis, basically not a detection. But if we say how to detect the malware, so basically traditionally there are two approaches. One is the signature based approach. As I mentioned that most of the antivirus industries, they are using the signatures in their database to detect the evolving malware attacks.
Right.
Second is the behavior based or anomaly based. Those anomaly based can be categorized, can be done performed with the help of the static analysis, dynamic analysis, or any sort of memory based analysis. But traditionally, signature based is very widely used by the to protect the end user system from the malware attacks.
Right. Now, so prevention is always better than cure. So, it's important to basically do some things, to take certain measures, precautionary measures that can protect us from malware attacks. What are these?
Basically, as I mentioned in one of my slide, actually, spear phishing kind of attacks or phishing attacks. Nowadays, largely malware authors, they used to hire a kind of services. They used to create a spear phishing emails that do have a suspicious attachment, or can say suspicious code embedded with the email itself. The user, what the moment those emails are in the form of the let's say are so lucrative that users will think that, oh, there may be a financial lottery, or some mail from the HR department or financial department, or end user may get some lottery. He thought of, I won some lottery, I win some lottery, and he opened the attachment. The moment he opened the attachment, his system or his computer got infected by the malware attacks. And all the data, the malware authors, they keep monitoring the data originated from the infected devices. In this way, they used to create the even botnet army, or kind of the large number of infected computers. So one common measure is that never open such kind of attachment if you are not knowing about it. If there is any kind of spam mails or spear phishing kind of attacks, I request to all of the end users who are using the internet services, please do not open such kind of attachment.
So, sir, are spam mails and phishing mails same?
Spam mails is different actually. Spam mail is largely used for the denial of service attacks, kind of thing. But spam mail may also contain kind of attachment that do have a suspicious content within it.
Right.
So in that way, that spam mail becomes a spear phishing kind of attacks.
Right, because sometimes you receive mails from income tax department, sometimes you receive, like as you mentioned, you won some lottery, or a donation is to be made with some grim pictures. So these are the, as you mentioned, these are phishing emails, and of course this way, a malware can be there, and it can attack a system. Now, which type of malware encrypts files it demands a ransom for their release? Because in one of the sessions only, we came to know that in AIIMS Hospital, New Delhi, there was this big attack, and of course the entire data was sealed, and the hospital, I was a staff, was not able to access it, and there was a demand. So what exactly it is, and do we have particular criteria that we can follow and be aware that these are the emails or the attachments that or the files that we should not be opening up?
Absolutely, this is very nice. When there are plenty of such kind of incidents, not only AIIMS attack. I mean, daily basis, like nowadays there is a plenty of such kind of attacks. They used to encrypt your entire file system. Even my friend known to me, he has a showroom. I mean, in somewhere he has a business, and the attacker completely infect his software and encrypt all the file system.
Oh.
And ask some ransom from the businessman, and ask him, if you pay such kind of such amount to me, only then I will share you the decryption key. And I mean, unfortunately, he has shared some amount to the cyber criminals, and in this way, uh, he has lost his more than 80 lakhs in
Oh.
this way, and till I mean afterwards also he was not able to get the decryption key. So in that way, what ransomware is one of the malware threats that used to encrypt the entire file system. And I request to all the users, please do not do not try to pay any kind of ransom to the cyber criminals, because
Yes.
they are after giving the money also you will not be able to get the key
Data.
also.
Oh,
Yes.
that is
And
that is very bad.
the solution of this, keep updating your patch or softwares, keep updating your application, take regular backup of your system. If such kind of incident happens, at least you do have a backup copy of your data, because those kind of attacks are evolving, and certain attacks are like similar to our physical scenario. They don't have a solution. Only we can reduce them by getting some educational
Yes.
awareness and that kind of thing.
That's why we are holding these training programs, and you're right, prevention is better than cure. But as you mentioned, that let's not give in to the demands of these attackers, and hackers are definitely evolving and becoming smarter day by day. But I'm sure that once when such a thing has happened, we can go somewhere and report about these attacks. So whom to approach and where to go?
Basically, in our country, I mean, growing large, in terms of cyber security, we are still in a growing stage and developing stage. And there is a plenty number of organizations to whom we can report about the incident. And I can mention here one of our incident response agencies, CERT India, Cyber Emergency Response Team.
Okay.
They are actively working on, largely working on to protect our internet ecosystem, and they're primarily responsible for such kind of things. And, we can report any such kind of incident to them. And as well, they also, every organization do have nowadays the structural security posture in terms of the chief information security officer or nodal information security officers. Every organization do have a CISO nowadays, and they end user can inform if any such kind of incident to the CISO or their top management, so that they can be able to inform to the CERT India or government of India agencies to
Right.
to safeguard us from such kind of incidents.
Absolutely, and to put the criminals behind the bars, it is very important. So, thank you so much, Dr. Sanjeev, for your contribution to the session. It was indeed wonderful and very informative one. So, viewers, that was a session on day 3 where we talked about malware to phishing, cyber hygiene practices to stay protected under the umbrella theme of cyber hygiene. Tomorrow on day 4, we will be taking up the topic, the cyber hygiene checklist, steps to protect your digital presence. And with this, I'm closing this session here. But before I join you with yet another session, it's time to make an important announcement regarding an upcoming competition. So this is the All India Children's Educational E-Content Competition, and we invite entries from teachers, students, teacher educators and independent educational e-content creators. The last day for sending in your entries is 15th of January 2025. For more details, you can visit our website www.ciet or .ncert.gov.in, or just scan the QR code that is there on the screen. We wish you all the very best for this competition. And last but not the least, let's take a look at the live schedule, what's all coming ahead and what you have seen already. So this is a listed program which you've been watching since morning, and all these sessions are uploaded on our YouTube channel NCERT Official. And a short while from now, you can watch a session Sayog, where we will be talking about discovering self and mental health. With this, it's a wrap, and I'll join you soon. Take care. Namaskar.